In our previous investigation, we followed the fading of humanity's greatest inheritance, the spark of compassion. We saw how temptation, fear, power, greed, and selfishness can dim its light. We watched as simple acts of restoration became systems, as systems became institutions, as institutions sometimes forgot the very people they were created to serve. Yet the story does not end there, for throughout history, the spark never disappeared. In every generation, there were men and women who chose compassion over power, mercy over revenge, understanding over fear. They protected the light. They carried it forward, sometimes in plain sight, sometimes hidden within stories, scrolls, codices, and memories, sometimes preserved by teachers, philosophers, historians, and ordinary people whose names have been forgotten. The spark survived, not because it was powerful, but because it was precious. Now we turn to the next chapter of the story. Not how compassion is lost, but how it is found again. Not how the spark fades, but how it is rekindled. This is the story of rekindling the spark. Empires rose and fell, cities burned, temples were destroyed. Kings, governors, priests, and armies all believed they could shape the future. Yet history reveals a remarkable truth. Power rarely endures. Ideas do. Across centuries of conflict and change, countless men and women carried forward a different inheritance. Not wealth, not armies, not political authority, but wisdom, compassion, hope. The light passed from teacher to student, from parent to child, from one generation to the next. Sometimes it appeared in stories, sometimes in letters, sometimes in scrolls and codices preserved against overwhelming odds. But some who carried the light understood a troubling reality. Libraries could burn, scrolls could be destroyed, books could be banned, memories could be erased, and so they preserved their message in another way, through allegories, through symbols, through stories with more than one meaning, through enigmas designed to survive even when literal histories were lost. Historians recorded it, philosophers reflected upon it, teachers explained it, ordinary people lived it. The names changed, the languages changed, the empires changed, but the spark remained, hidden beneath politics, hidden beneath institutions, hidden beneath conflict, waiting to be discovered again. The light never went out, it simply waited for those willing to protect it and for those willing to see it. The disciples were afraid. Their teacher was gone. The future was uncertain. The institutions remained powerful. The temptation was to hide, to remain silent, to let the spark fade. But according to ancient tradition, Mary Magdalene chose a different path. She comforted those who were grieving. She encouraged those who were afraid. And she reminded them that the responsibility now belonged to them, not only to the men gathered in that room, but to their wives, their children, their students, and every future generation that would inherit the spark. Yet Mary understood something else. Ideas can be suppressed, teachers can be silenced, libraries can burn, scrolls can be destroyed, and so the light must be preserved in more than documents alone. It must be preserved in stories, in symbols, in parables, in allegories, in enigmas that carry truth beneath the surface, messages hidden in plain sight, waiting for future generations to rediscover them. The goal was not secrecy, the goal was survival, to ensure that compassion would endure even if every scroll was lost, to ensure that wisdom would survive even if every library burned. The spark would pass from teacher to student, from parent to child, from one generation to the next. And perhaps that is why the light never went out, because those who carried it learned how to protect it, not only in books, but in the human heart. Among the writings that survive from the ancient world, few speak more directly about the spark than the Gospel of Thomas. Unlike many religious texts, Thomas repeatedly points inward, not toward institutions, not toward rituals, not toward power, but toward the light already present within human beings. One saying declares, "There is light within a person of light, and it shines on the whole world." Another asks, "If they say to you, 'Where have you come from?' say, 'We came from the light.'" And perhaps most remarkably, The kingdom is inside you and it is outside you. These are not the words of a system seeking control. They are the words of a teacher seeking awakening. The spark does not need to be purchased. It cannot be taxed. It cannot be monopolized. It cannot be locked inside a building. The light is already present within each person, within each act of compassion, within every choice to heal rather than harm. Thomas reminds us that the kingdom is not a distant destination. It begins wherever compassion is allowed to shine. The spark we have been searching for may have been with us all along. Few sayings in the Gospel of Thomas have generated more confusion than saying 114. Peter speaks first. Let Mary go out from among us, for women are not worthy of the life. His words reveal a world familiar to many women throughout history, a world in which authority, recognition, inheritance, and remembrance were often reserved for men. Then comes the reply attributed to Jesus. Look, I will lead her that I may make her male. For centuries, readers have struggled to understand these words. Were they symbolic, mystical, social, or something else entirely? Notice what Thomas does not explain. He leaves the saying as an enigma, a puzzle, a challenge to future generations. Yet one possibility deserves consideration. What if Peter is speaking about exclusion? And what if Jesus is speaking about access? Access to authority, access to influence, access to remembrance, access to a realm traditionally reserved for men. If so, the saying may not be describing a change of nature. It may be describing the overcoming of a barrier, the removal of a limitation imposed by society. Mary's slight smile invites us to look deeper. Perhaps she understands something the others do not. Perhaps the saying contains a truth hidden beneath the surface. And perhaps Thomas intended it that way. For those who preserve wisdom through enigmas rarely hand us the answer. They invite us to search for it. The spark survives when people are willing to ask difficult questions. If Thomas invites us to search for hidden meanings, the Gospel of Mark tells us why. According to Mark, Jesus spoke openly to the crowds, yet he often taught in parables, stories about seeds, lamps, fields, birds, farmers, ordinary things. But Mark preserves a remarkable statement. To you has been given the secret of the kingdom of God, but for those outside everything comes in parables. A secret, not hidden because it was unimportant, hidden because it was precious, hidden because it was dangerous. Those with ears to hear would hear, those with eyes to see would see. The same words reached everyone, yet not everyone understood them. Perhaps this is how wisdom survives, not by forcing itself upon the world, but by inviting each generation to search, to question, to discover, to awaken. The spark cannot simply be handed from one person to another. It must be recognized. And once recognized, it begins to illuminate everything around it. The secret of the kingdom may not be a place. It may be a way of seeing. Mark tells us that Jesus revealed the secret of the kingdom to his closest followers. But what was that secret? Was it a hidden prophecy, a sacred ritual, a secret name, a mysterious doctrine? If so, the Gospels never clearly tell us. Instead, they repeatedly return to the same themes. Feed the hungry, forgive, show mercy, love your neighbor, care for the least among you, turn the other cheek, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Again and again, the message returns to compassion. Perhaps the secret was never hidden because it was complicated. Perhaps it was hidden because it was simple. A world built on fear struggles to understand compassion. A world built on power struggles to understand service. A world built on domination struggles to understand love. Yet throughout the teachings attributed to Jesus, the same spark continues to appear. The secret of the kingdom may simply be this: compassion is stronger than fear. If Mark speaks of a secret of the kingdom, what exactly is the secret? Could it be hidden in plain sight? Hidden in the very first line of Scripture? Genesis begins not with Yahweh, but with Elohim. Why? What did the ancient authors intend their readers to see? Was Elohim simply another word for God, or does the word preserve something more ancient, something waiting to be rediscovered? Some researchers, including the hypothesis explored in this presentation, suggest that Elohim may preserve memories of a more complex divine picture than later readers recognized. LHM can be read as Elohim, often translated God. Yet the word itself remains a mystery. Could it preserve traces of older traditions? Could it contain layers of meaning that later generations overlooked? If the secret of the kingdom was hidden in plain sight, perhaps this is one place we should look. The teachings attributed to Jesus offer another clue. Jesus taught his followers to pray, Abba, Father. From the cross, he cried out, Eloi, Eloi. Again and again, his teachings emphasized compassion over retaliation, Elohim over Yahweh. Love your enemies, bless those who curse you, turn the other cheek, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. But there is another pattern that appears throughout the traditions. Again and again, Jesus challenges the boundaries that separated people. Again and again, he elevates those whom society pushed aside. If the spark began to fade when the wisdom of women was hidden, perhaps it began to brighten again when that wisdom was welcomed back into the circle. Perhaps the secret of the kingdom was about restoring what had been divided: strength and compassion, power and wisdom, father and mother. The spark does not grow brighter when one voice silences another. It grows brighter when both are heard. But if this was the message, why was it hidden? Why speak in parables? Why preserve teachings through enigmas? One possibility is that the message itself was controversial, a message that challenged exclusion, a message that focused on unifying peace, not the division of war, a message that defended women, a message that placed compassion above fear and reconciliation above retaliation, a message that threatened those who benefited from division. If such a message had been written only in plain language, it could be altered, suppressed, or destroyed. But a truth hidden within stories, symbols, parables, and enigmas could survive, waiting for those with ears to hear and eyes to see. Perhaps the secret of the kingdom was not merely a doctrine, the spark that could survive the centuries because it was hidden in plain sight. The spark did not disappear. It survived beneath names, beneath stories, beneath enigmas waiting to be rediscovered. The journey begins in Genesis. There, El Shaddai changes Abram to Abraham and Sarai to Sarah. Sarah preserves echoes of Asherah, the woman of light. Later, she appears again in the story of Rachel. As Rachel journeys toward Bethlehem, the house of bread, the spark continues its passage through time. The story reaches another turning point in Egypt. Joseph rises to power and saves lives. Yet beneath the surface, another possibility emerges: a woman preserved through transformation, a woman protected by appearing in a role reserved for men. The pattern continues. At the burning bush, the consonants of Exodus invite another reading: a hidden voice, a forgotten presence, a mother of light concealed within the text. Then comes the prophecy of Micah, the watchtower of the flock, daughter Jerusalem, the mother, the daughter, waiting for their return. And finally, in the traditions surrounding Jesus and Mary Magdalene, the pattern reaches its fulfillment. Mother and daughter appear once more. The wisdom that had been hidden begins to emerge. The voice that had been diminished begins to speak again. The spark begins to brighten. For centuries, power had been measured by strength, by authority, by domination. But the message carried through these stories points in a different direction: compassion, mercy, wisdom, peace, the restoration of balance, the reunion of strength and wisdom, father and mother, the rekindling of a spark that was never truly extinguished, only hidden, waiting for those with ears to hear and eyes to see. In Rome, just as twin grandsons were born to Emperor Tiberius through his younger son Drusus, the man widely expected to succeed Tiberius, Germanicus, was suddenly dead. At roughly the same time, a prominent Jewish leader emerged in Alexandria bearing the unusual title Alabarch, L-B-R-K, which may be read as Ella Barak, blessed of Ella. History knows him as Alexander the Alabarch, father of 2 sons. Their names were Tiberius Julius Alexander and Marcus Julius Alexander. Alexander the Alabarch had a brother, the philosopher Philo, yet no wife is recorded, a notable omission. Another notable omission from this same generation concerns Cleopatra's granddaughter, identified in inscriptions only as Juba's daughter. Despite being born into one of the most famous royal families of the ancient world, she vanishes from history before leaving any substantial public record. Queen Cleopatra's full name, Cleopatra Thea Philopater, preserved the title Philo within this royal line. In 41 CE, Emperor Caligula imprisoned Alexander in Rome. Philo journeyed from Alexandria to plead for his brother's release. Caligula refused. Soon afterward, however, palace intrigue brought the emperor's reign to an abrupt end. Caligula was assassinated. What happened next is one of history's curiosities. Alexander and Philo never returned permanently to Alexandria. But in Rome, during the reign of Claudius, 2 freedmen rose to prominence: Tiberius Julius Narcissus and Marcus Antonius Pallas. Narcissus was the mythological figure whose self-love gave rise to the word narcissism. A positive spin on Narcissus might be, love your neighbor as you love yourself. Pallas recalls Pallas Athena, who in Greek literature often appeared disguised as a man when circumstances required it. Over the next 2 decades, an east gate into Rome was constructed that bore striking similarities to Jerusalem's East Gate, destroyed during the Jewish revolt. Nearby stood the remarkable monument now known as the Baker's Tomb. Pallas was controversial because of the power he wielded and his reputed arrogance. Tacitus records that Pallas preferred written communication and avoided speech even within his own household. If Pallas were concealing an identity that might be revealed by the voice, such behavior would be understandable. Claudius, together with Narcissus and Pallas, directed vast public works projects across the empire. Aqueducts, roads, and infrastructure transformed daily life, providing employment for countless citizens and helping usher in what many regarded as a golden age of Roman peace and prosperity. A new Jerusalem in stone, and perhaps a final resting place for the baker whose wisdom contributed to the triumph of Joseph at the court of Pharaoh. In 380 CE, Emperor Theodosius made Nicene Christianity the official religion of the Roman Empire. Over the decades that followed, temples were closed, competing traditions were suppressed, and countless texts judged heretical were lost forever. Ancient monuments associated with older beliefs often fell into ruin, were dismantled, or disappeared beneath later construction. Among the mysteries of Rome are the burial of the East Gate and the disappearance of the Baker's Tomb from public memory. Why? Why would a monumental gateway into the Eternal City be abandoned and buried? Why would the tomb of a baker and his wife vanish beneath the earth? Why was the relief depicting the entombed couple hidden from view for more than 1,400 years? Was the baker remembered as more than a baker? Did his story echo the baker from Joseph's triumph, a figure whose fate became intertwined with the triumph of wisdom at the court of Pharaoh? And what of his wife, Atistia? Was her name merely Roman, or did it preserve echoes of older traditions? Attis, the castrated god celebrated annually during the Ides of March. Or Tiye, the great Egyptian queen, whose influence shaped an empire under Amun until her son introduced Atum and she disappeared from the texts. If so, what memories were being preserved? What knowledge was being protected? What stories became dangerous enough to destroy? The stones remained silent, but sometimes silence invites us to ask better questions. When the funerary relief of Eurysaces and Atistia was excavated in the 19th century, both figures were preserved. Early photographs show Atistia's head intact. The relief was subsequently moved into museum collections in Rome. Then in 1934, Atistia's head was stolen. Unfortunately, the original head was never recovered. Because photographs and documentation existed from before the theft, however, scholars knew exactly what had been lost when they set about to restore her head. Still, the reproduction depicts subtle changes to the original. For example, Atistia's facial features and right hand are smaller and more feminine than originally shown in the earlier photographs. Because it was likely displayed prominently on the monument in Rome, it would have represented the public image Eurysaces wished future generations to remember. The relief presents an intriguing contrast between the two figures. Eurysaces' right arm is enclosed within the folds of his toga, creating a restrained and concealed posture. Does this reflect a conventional Roman toga pose, or does it carry a deeper significance? The visual effect is unmistakable. His right arm is restricted. Atistia's right arm, by contrast, is free and unencumbered. She stands nearly equal in stature, occupies equal space within the composition, and appears more open and active than her husband. Her right hand appears to make a deliberate gesture with two fingers directed toward her genital region. Is the placement of the two fingers intentional? Is the gesture meant to communicate something to those with eyes to see? Was Atistia signaling the knowledge and confirmation of Thomas 114? Was she a woman who, like Pallas Athena, sometimes disguised herself as a man? Was she a god without a penis? A eunuch? A goddess? Another contemporary relief bears a striking resemblance to the portrait of Eurysaces and Atistia. The unidentified Via Statilia couple and the Eurysaces relief share a remarkably similar composition, posture, and arrangement of gestures. In both monuments, husband and wife stand side by side, occupying nearly equal space within the composition. The women in both reliefs possess an unusually strong, almost androgynous appearance when compared with many contemporary Roman portraits. Atistia's palla is thrown over her left shoulder, while two fingers of her right hand appear to direct attention toward her genital region. In the Via Statilia relief, the woman's palla falls loosely over her left arm and across the same region of her body, while her right hand draws attention upward toward her face. Together, the two gestures create a visual connection between identity, wisdom, and fertility that is difficult to ignore. The anonymity of the Via Statilia couple raises intriguing questions. Was one relief modeled upon the other? Were both monuments drawing upon a common visual tradition? Or were they intended to represent the same individuals in different roles, one depicting freed persons associated with the story of Joseph and the baker in Genesis, and the other preserving a memory of their position within the Julio-Claudian world? No definitive answers survive. Yet the parallels invite closer examination. While the name Pallas and the Roman palla are not considered etymologically related, the similarity is striking. The palla served as the identifying garment of the Roman matron. Pallas Athena represented wisdom, strategy, and in certain literary traditions, the ability to assume male roles when circumstances required. The imperial freedman Pallas, depicted on the great cameo receiving the shield of Pallas Athena, may therefore represent one of the most important enigmas in the entire investigation. Was Pallas merely a powerful freedman? Or was the name itself intended to point toward a deeper story hidden in plain sight? What if the baker's tomb was never intended to honor a successful baker? What if it was built to preserve a memory? The traditional story identifies the monument as the tomb of Eurysachus and his wife Atistia. Yet its unusual design, its prominent female imagery, its location beside Rome's East Gate, and its enduring mystery invite another question. What if the baker's tomb was Rome's BTLHM? Throughout the ancient narratives, the same pattern appears again and again. In Genesis, Joseph triumphs because the wisdom of Ella the mother preserves life and saves Egypt from starvation during years of drought. In Micah, Mother Great and Glorious, Daughter Jerusalem, and from BTLHM comes the ruler whose origins reach back into antiquity. In the Gospels, Jesus comes from BTLHM, a little town, a daughter of Goddess the Mother, a virgin mother, or all three. And in Rome, a baker's tomb stands beside the East Gate, preserving the memory of a woman whose identity may have been hidden beneath layers of story, symbol, and time. Perhaps these are not separate stories. Perhaps they are recurring manifestations of the same archetype: the mother, the daughter, the virgin, the baker, the woman of light, the hidden source of wisdom who preserves life through compassion, foresight, and understanding. The Gospel of Thomas preserves a curious saying, "Where the beginning is, there shall the end be." The baker's tomb in Rome represents the completion of the circle. The ruler comes from BTLHM. The wisdom of Goddess the Mother preserves life. The daughter of Goddess the Mother returns with the ruler of Jerusalem. The beginning and the ending become one in the Hebrew consonants. BTLHM Bethlehem. House of bread. Bet Elohim. House of Goddess the Mother. Bat Elohim. Daughter of Goddess the Mother, Betula M, Virgin Mother. The baker's tomb becomes BTLHM, and BTLHM becomes the place where the story begins and ends. For as the Gospel of Thomas declares, "Where the beginning is, there shall the end be."